ones that we feel comfortable just saying.
It being 8:31, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Good luck with that.
Have a roll call.
Sir.
Sauger.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Hendricks. Campbell. Here. Kunkel.
Here.
Shorten.
Here.
Althoff.
Thank you. I need to entertain a motion to allow Member Wegner to appear remotely. Motion by Ms. Campbell, second by Mr. Sauger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Welcome to the meeting. Kelly. Let's see, minutes approval from the meeting of March 26, 2024. Got a motion by Mr. Sauger, second by Mr. Kunkel. Any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Public comment.
The public comment?
We have no public comment. Member comments. Anyone? Okay. Moving right along, new business, we have a request for a liquor license and from the Illinois District American Turners Camp. There's a new president, Kurt Potthast. Is Mr. Potthast here? All right, we'll move past and come back to this if he does show up. Legislative update. Alicia.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So, this is a juicy one for today. So lots to cover, and then we'll address the elephant in the room, which is part. But first up to bat. So I always like to start with deadlines because it gives you a bit of a guidelines of where the legislators are going, or where the respective legislators are going to go. At least we had a lot of coffee this morning, so bear with me. All right, so May 3, this Friday is a big day for us. So first off, bills got to get out of committee in their opposite chambers by May 3rd. So for our purposes, there's a couple bills that we really want to get out of committee by that date. The first one up to bat would be House Bill 5444, which is the sheriff's legislation that would include the police social work program under the sheriff's office under the co-responder pilot program for the state, and hopefully allow the sheriff's office to get some funding from the state from that program. So that's up to bat. That is in the Appropriations, Public Safety, and Infrastructure Committee in the Senate currently. And hopefully, you know, that it will come up for hearing this week. Chairman Bueller, the sheriff, and Chair Althoff are all standing by, ready to file witness slips in support. And I know the sheriff has other ideas that he just can illustrate further with you if you'd like to ask him on how to get some more witness slips on that to issue support.
Take a breath.
All right, so you can tell I'm excited about this one. Another big one for us to keep an eye on is Senate Bill 951. So what's that one? I haven't talked to you guys about that one yet. That is a bill that's going to help Marengo to get some of its to get some of the land it needs for its utilities along the Route 23 and I-90 corridor there. So very important. Senator Severson was instrumental in getting that through the Senate, and now it's being pushed onto the House where Rep. Sosnowski and Rep. Ness are pushing it forward from there. So more to come on that bill. Oh yes, and I also want to give some kudos to our our folks in the House for the sheriff's bill that also helped get it through. It was Rep. Ness, co-sponsored by Martin McLaughlin, and also pushed through by Sosnowski and Rep. Reich. So again, always want to make sure that you guys know and thank the representatives who helped out to get our legislation through. So that's that. Okay, so going another piece that's really important for you guys to know is about community funding requests. Okay, or sorry, community project funding requests. So what's that? So we are dipping our toes now into the federal pool as a McHenry County legislative program. So we are assisting, and when I say we, I mean county administration, sheriff's office, even facilities had a hand in helping us out with this, to request money from the federal government for the police social work program headquarters at the regional training center. So We've been working on that behind the scenes. In past December, we had Congresswoman Schakowsky and Congressman Schneider come out to the Regional Training Center and see the other half of the building that wasn't touched yet during the renovations to make the Regional Training Center. And that area could be the future headquarters for a police social work program that is currently residing in the Community Foundation in Crystal Lake. But again, that's not a permanent home for them. You know, we are essentially relying on the generosity of the Community Foundation to prop up this program and give it a home. But at some point, it needs to be, you know, in its own permanent location under county facilities. So to that end, we're trying to acquire funding from the federal government to finish up that project.
And that's called the Community Projects Funding, what is it called?
Community project funding. And we submitted a request this past week to Congresswoman Schakowsky, as it is her district, to get the funding for that project. So we will find out very shortly whether or not she accepted the project as one of her 15 to put forward to the appropriations committees. So more to come on that. Hopefully good news. All right, still taking some more breaths here. You can tell I'm really excited about all this. I touched on the, other things to keep in mind, a lot of our municipal partners are also seeking community project funding, just so you know, and the chairman has been very active in helping these municipalities, you know, get letters of support. So kudos to him. Some of the projects supported were the McHenry County Conservation District. They have a project down on the bluffs, what was it, the Foxville? I'm sorry? The Campbell Algonquin, right. So there's Camp Algonquin. He issued a letter of support for that one, along with the Woodstock 47 expansion. He did that one as well. And he also wrote some letters to the governor, L.G. Sims, or I'm sorry, Senator L.G. Sims Jr., who is the chief budgeteer in the Senate, and Jehan Gordon Booth, who is the leader in the House who does appropriations. So that was assisted there for the city of Marengo's project to get utilities down there because they needed additional funding to make that project work. And again, that's all, and that piece is in accordance, both of those projects are in accordance with the legislative program for this year, which we all agreed to help Marengo, you know, get the utilities it needs, and our legislative program of last year, which was talking about the 47 expansion. So again, all things that we've talked about before.
Wonder Lake.
I'm sorry?
Wonder Lake.
Oh yeah, and Wonder Lake, thank you, Pete. We're also assisted, the chairman also wrote a letter in support of the Wonder Lake project as well, as they are seeking funding as well. Okay, so taking another breath, because Alicia has had way too much coffee this morning. There, maybe Shaylin, would you? This version of the report would probably be best served with Shaylin, because this is all stuff I've heard from Shaylin. So, financial bills. Shaylin, what's going on with the grocery tax?
So the grocery tax we've heard is pretty much a done deal from what we're hearing. One of the things that the governor has stressed is that he would allow municipalities, home rule and non-home rule, to be able to implement their own without having to go to referendum. Of course, then this would put it on the burden on the municipalities to do this. The state said that they would collect the grocery tax for the municipalities. However, that would be subject to the administrative fee that they charge to reimburse. So in the end, the state could receive money from the grocery tax. But we are still doing a big push. All of the municipalities in the region, all 247 of them, we're doing a big push to reach out to our legislators to tell them to oppose the elimination of the grocery tax.
Other bills that you should know about, House Bill 5190, that's a bill that would give a little bit more assistance to townships, you know, with some of their bridge projects. So that's another one that we want to keep an eye on. Hopefully it'll keep on moving forward. Unfortunately, our wind and solar bills, you know, all of them that were filed haven't made it anywhere, which is, well, it is what it is. But just so you know, ISACO is working very hard to get a different bill filed that will combine the different suggestions of the committee that ISACO had with different counties that Chair Althoff chairs, and put it forward for possible, you know, review during veto session or possibly the next session. So more to come on that. As you know, Chairman Bueller went down to IML with Shaylin, and they had a very successful meeting with Treasurer Ferrix, who helped them find $50,000, and Treasurer Kurtz has already, issued the paperwork to claim that money, so that was very good. Chair Althoff and I also went down to Springfield to go for the ISACO Legislative Day, and we had good conversations with our legislators then. So again, you can read more details in the report. All right, you ready for this next piece?
You
All
take
right,
it.
everybody
Take
take
it
a deep
on.
breath. Legislation in regards to regional transit. So yesterday, 2 bills landed. They're mammoth bills, hundreds of pages. I am still digesting them. I know staff at the DOT is digesting them as well and trying to understand their full implications. One was filed by Representative Delgado and another was filed by Cam Buckner. The Delgado bill, which had the press release go out yesterday has a lot in there. It discusses consolidating all transit agencies, the RTA, the CTA, Metra, and PACE into one entity. The vote breakdown would be, for control at least, it's about governance. The control would be 5 votes for the city of Chicago, 5 votes for Cook County, 3 votes for the governor, 5 votes for each of the collar counties, and 1 vote that would be decided by the directors of the agencies, as I've heard. The regional, please feel free to correct me, Member Sager. It's the 1 vote that's decided by
That's the chair.
the chair.
That's decided by the body, but you can't be a member of the body.
Right. Thank you.
But would make us powerless with their 10 votes in Cook County, Chicago.
Well, it's not,
If it remains a simple majority.
Right, that's
That's
an
an important.
important part of it. That's exactly right.
now, why do I bring up that there's 2 bills filed? Well, hold on to your heads. Cam Buckner filed a bill 2 or 3 hours before Delgado filed hers, and that was just containing the stuff that I've talked to you about so far. I'm sure there's other things in it, but that's the main thing you need to know about. Delgado's bill has other pieces in there that are more environmentally based. If you look at the titles of these bills, they talk about clean energy and equity. So again, the Delgado bill contains several more acts that are incorporated in there, one of which, as far as I understand from what I've read so far, would make it so that local governments can only acquire zero-emission vehicles starting in 2028. They can either lease or purchase zero-emission vehicles. There's also requirements for school buses to transition, different deadlines on that. And again, different pieces for different emissions metrics that would be required for large fleets and various other pieces. So just so you know, those 2 bills are on there. It does, from what is being said publicly, it does not appear that they are trying to push it forward this session, but again, we are watching it like a hawk, and they're trying to start a conversation about how transit should move forward. And again, I'm sure, Member Sager, you have other insights as well, and I'll hand the floor over to you if you so choose.
A lot of activity yesterday because the bills were just filed yesterday and announced, and there was some anticipation starting last Thursday that perhaps some of this was going on, but the bills were actually filed yesterday morning and have created quite a bit of concern at a variety of levels. Certainly they're from the level of governance of the transit system on one hand, but also with regards to some of the additional requirements regarding environment and the impact on that. The good news, if there is good news to be garnered from all this, is that it also includes, in theory, a $1.5 billion injection of funds into the transit system. But there has been no definition in terms of where those funds might come from, so that's still very much up in the air. Biggest concerns really are the imposition upon local units of governments relative to carbon emissions and reduction of energy consumption through vehicles which are going to be mandated, if you will, at a certain date specific. And that is a very large concern for local units because of the associated costs, and not just the cost of purchase of those vehicles, but obviously maintaining them and being able to plug them in, right? So that they all kind of work. So all that's a huge, huge deal. And there's no clarification about what type of support there might be for local units of governments in that regard. The aspect about the governance, which is really the HB 5823, is of major concern because of two things. The first is that it is combining all of the agencies right now into a single service agency. So we now have the METRA board and agency, we have the PACE, and we have the CTA. And all of those would be combined into one, along with RTA. RTA is the umbrella organization that oversights really financing, basically. And so there is an attempt now to move all that into what's being called the Metropolitan Mobility Authority, or MMA, Metropolitan Mobility Authority. And so that is the name of the act then. And in that regard, they would be eliminating all of the current service agency boards. Recall that not only are there representatives from Cook County and the City of Chicago on those boards, but there's also representatives from the collar counties that are provided some degree of service, or, I want to emphasize that, or are taxed to support transit. For example, in McHenry County, we have a representative on the PACE board, on the Metro board, and on RTA. Obviously, we don't have anyone on CTA, but we do have those representatives in the other service agencies for which we get some service. We've all heard the concerns about the level of service and the efforts that we're trying to make to increase service here through Metro to move the parking function from downtown Crystal Lake to the Lamb Road corridor northwest of Woodstock. We've also heard concerns about the lack of routine routes for PACE. We have a limited 3 right now. We would like to see an increase in that, and there has been some progress in that line just recently, and we're grateful for that. Nonetheless, it would really dissolve all of those and go into this one MMA, and in that, as was just indicated by Alicia, there would be 5 representatives from county, 5 from the City of Chicago, 1 each from the collar counties for 5, and then the chair would be determined by this authority, but it would be an individual that could not be a member of the body. Now, in addition to that, and very importantly, there would be 3 appointed by the governor. And so now you have a total of 18 plus a chair. The concern is that if you kind of add those, and especially if you maintain Democratic seats in the governor's mansion, what happens is that you've got a Democrat there, you've got 5 Democrats from Chicago and 5 Democrats from Cook County, basically. That's the concern. And so you have 1 representative from the others. And so, not to overly politicize this, but it's been a fine balance the way RTA is settled right now, because there are multiple representatives, yes, from Chicago and Cook County, but the requirement right now is basically a supermajority to pass anything that has to do with policies and finances. And so that requires at least 12. Anything that's passed by RTA has to have 12 votes. So therefore you have a collaborative effort between Cook County, City of Chicago, and the collar counties. But in this, they've moved to the idea of a simple majority. And so basically what that says is that the collar counties are really just kind of placated by 1 representative on this body, but they are not really going to have too much say.
And the collar counties will inherit all the debt of Chicago and CTA,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, and that's the other major concern.
And not be able to make any decisions on this stuff and have all this force fed down our throats again.
That's correct.
This is
That is correct.
ridiculous on the face of it. It is ridiculous.
Now, the effort here is being pushed and has been pushed by Preckwinkle, the Cook County chair, And she's the one, and the reason that all this is happening is for exactly the point that you just made. They want to have greater control of transit on one hand, but they also want to have access to finances. And so the CTA is the one that has the major or the majority of debt. Metro has no debt, basically. PACE has a limited amount of debt, but CTA is the one with the largest amount of debt. And so ultimately what they're seeking to do is to rake money from the collar counties to be able to kind of take care of that CTA debt.
Yes.
The context down in Springfield right now is that if they're going to provide this $1.5 billion in supports on a rather routine basis, that they want to have a greater control. I get that, I understand it, but the fact of the matter is that it can't be so lopsided in terms of the legislation. So yesterday was a very busy day for everybody. We were all receiving lots and lots and lots of information. Early in the day, I had sent text messages to Leanne Redden, who is Executive Director of RTA, to Kirk Dillard, who is the Chair of the RTA Board, and also to Rob Nash, who is the Government Affairs for the RTA. And I basically said, it sounds to me, frankly, tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like this is a done deal. The previous conversation had been that this was just going to be a starting point for conversation and that nothing was going to be permanently decided, that this was going to be discussed over the summer. The context had been that it probably wouldn't be something that they would push in the veto session, but that it would be in the lame duck session after that. And so that was kind of the consideration. And so they keep talking that they want to open it up for conversation, and this was the initial conversations we had with RTA beforehand, was that it would be a hybrid RTA, where RTA would have the oversight control, basically, but we wouldn't eliminate all of this other representation with the other boards. This came as kind of a surprise to us yesterday morning. Obviously, all this is done behind closed doors. So in our conversations back and forth, one of the things that they encouraged, as I was talking about the fact that I think that the representation from Chicago and Cook County needs to be reduced to 3 each. So if they had 3, 3, and 3, and we still had 5, that might provide a degree of support. One of the things you have to keep in mind is that suburban Cook County does not always agree with Chicago. And so some of our representatives from suburban Cook County, in fact, are very agitated about this whole effort as well. And so sometimes that vote, if you will, or that base, can also be applied to support for the collar counties. Does that make sense? Okay. So just so happens that Woodstock is down in Springfield yesterday and today. So in the process, the chairman said what we need to do is to get a legislator to file an amendment to reduce Chicago and Cook County's representation from 5 down to 3 each. Is this all a perfect world? Absolutely not, because we're losing the representation basically through PACE and Metro. But at least it would be a greater point or source of conversation. And so Woodstock and their lobbying efforts, and we worked with Joyce too, contacted her, Joyce Narduli, and we are trying to get an amendment filed by a supportive representative. We're talking to Ness today as well as some others, and perhaps they can get that amendment filed relatively quickly. That's the down and dirty of it, I guess.
Would you be comfortable me sharing that information with the other councils of government to have them work with their lobbyists as well?
Absolutely.
I will do that immediately.
Right. So that's kind of where we are. If we can get that amendment in pretty quickly, at least for conversation, I think that would be helpful. Is it, again, going to be the perfect solution? No. But the thing that I put out immediately yesterday was the fact that it just appears to me that this is a fait accompli. I think it's a done deal. The only thing we might be able to do is to alter the membership, and they might be open to that. So that's the effort that we're taking right now. I don't mean to be a fatalist here, but I'm pretty disappointed.
So I do want to make sure that we don't paint this as like and I get the fact that the state is democratic, you know, in terms of leaning, in terms of structure. I get that about Chicago, but not all collar counties are red, you know, lean
Right.
red. And so I think we should need to keep this positioned as, because I think even in the collar county, you talk about suburban Cook, even if they lean more democratic, the issue here is about representation, and I think all of us in this room agree that we don't want that being taken away from us, regardless of party.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, Carolyn, because I don't want to paint this as truly political. But in today's environment, right now, down in Springfield, it is very
True, but we have
Yes,
Representative
but-
Ness
Right.
who's fighting for this
very
as well.
supportive as well. So that's absolutely the case, and I don't want to overly polarize the situation in that regard. But it's a very, very fine balance right now on the board, and it appears that there are strong efforts by leadership to adjust that, which is very disappointing.
It is.
Mr. Kunkel?
But in the end, it's still gonna be an additional taxation on McHenry County with no representation. We'll have a single voice
Right.
out of 18 voices. That's taxation without representation, which we live with a lot in this state, but I can't see the county having to endure this.
Member Kunkel, I mean, you are correct in that assessment. However, one thing to keep in mind, McHenry County has a population of 300,000, and we get one vote, and so does DuPage County at 900,000. So if that makes you feel any better.
It doesn't. No, sorry, it doesn't. And I watch the Metro trains go right through Fox River Road, both directions, with 3 and 4 heads on it every day. And I look at the unmitigated waste of the whole situation. And then they're gonna garner CTAs, poor fiscal management over 1 million years, and levy that onto us also?
I can't dispute that.
That's just not right. And I understand why Precknickle's pushing this, because she's got these mountains of debt and says, well, let's look some way to spread the love here and bring that all out. And anyway, I'm off my soapbox. Moving on.
Any other questions, comments? I'll reserve mine because there'd be a lot of 4-letter words. Anything else?
I wish I had saved the community project funding, information to the end of this. But again, hopefully, if there is good news, we'll let you know, on that score. And hopefully, information about that one at least will be put out in the next week or two, so we can know whether or not we made the cut.
What's the timeline we're expecting on this to move through the General Assembly?
Yes.
No, but like quick?
Quick.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be the General Assembly for community project funding. That's the federal government, and
No, I'm talking about
Exactly.
the RTA
RTA.
consolidation, yeah.
Well,
Like, is this gonna be, they pass it within the week?
I
We don't know, okay.
I do think that we need to stay as positive as we can after that negative report today. But I do think that we need to stay as positive as we can, because 2 things. The first thing is that, it is still going through the process. And there is, in theory, a lot of opportunity yet for input. The word has been that there's not going to be a push to get, the bill's going to pass, I think. But the point of the bill from everybody is to be a starting point, and that things will be then worked out over the summer and into the veto session this fall, and then something will be coming out next year. So I do think that there's opportunity for additional input, and I do believe that there's going to be a lot of folks that stand up and say we've got to have a healthy dialogue on this. The other positive thing is that I think an amendment will be filed pretty quickly. And if that's any, salve for the wound right now, I think that if that gets wings, which it might get some wings, if other cogs and other folks start pressing us a little bit, that would be a positive thing, and perhaps make a pretty strong statement as we go into this further procedural dialogue. You know, and I'm trying to put a positive spin on it, but I'm disappointed because it seems to be such a prepared, behind closed doors effort.
Well, thank you, everybody.
We're going to take a step back to item 5.1A, which is the liquor license for the Illinois District American Turner campus. See, Mr. Potthast has arrived. If you want to step up. And if you want to just have a seat, do a quick introduction of yourself and the organization, and then if we have any questions from the members, we can go from there.
Okay, so my name is Kurt Potthast. I'm president of Lincoln Turners, which is one of the societies that make up the Illinois District. The Illinois District has a campground that they purchased back in 1915 and operate a youth program for the, pretty much for just for the summertime.
Okay.
And this is an organization that has had a liquor license for quite some time, correct?
Correct.
And so the only question on the table is the change of presidency, right? So this is really more of a administrative change than anything else.
Correct.
Doesn't affect the type of license or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am interested in I'm going to ask. This is for scouts, is that right? Or is it youth camp? I mean, not just
Well, so the Turners are a group that migrated from Germany 1800s. So a lot of your gymnasts and stuff back in the early years before park districts had gyms and stuff like that, they were trained by Turners. So it's a philosophy of sound mind, sound body. So we're a national organization, and there also is Turn for Ice in Germany as well. So like this, every 4 years we have a Turn Fest. There's a Turn Fest actually in Germany this year in Leipzig. So we're part of a much bigger organization. We are a national organization, and our change in presidency, which is a 2-year term, is always dictated by our convention that happens in January each year. So this year we wouldn't have a change again in presidency until the year before, but with our Turner motto, we have like an athletic field, we have a swimming pool. The youth have an 8-week program, and they're up at our A field for physical fitness, and then they have swim training in the afternoon. Part of the whole operation also is the bar restaurant, which they use primarily on weekends just for like a fish fry and getting people together.
Okay, so I mean, it begs the question, and that's what I'm trying to get at. I think you just answered. But it begs the question: why does a youth supporting organization need a liquor license?
It was just one of the facets of just the whole organizations as they've always went down. They've always had the social aspect of the camp as well. Our campground just has a youth program that it isn't the main thing that we do. We have 272 cottages that are in a couple of 100 acres, and that's pretty much where the food and liquor is just get together during the course of the summer.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, then I guess we just need a motion to approve. Mr. Hendricks, second from Mr. Kunkel. And we need a roll call.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Sauger,
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes. Congratulations. I have to give you your standard admonition that obviously this is a privilege to hold this. You need to make sure you follow the rules and regulations and make sure that you're dispensing alcohol safely and legally. And obviously we're here as a county to support you in any questions that you might have about that.
Thank you.
Do we need to sign this or anything? Or
No,
good to go?
ready to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to the routine consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed for discussion? Okay, seeing none. Need a motion to approve the routine consent agenda. Ms. Campbell, need a second? Mr. Sauger, roll call?
Wagner,
Yes.
Sauger,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes. Okay, I don't see anything for presentations. Number 9, old business sheriff's update. The sheriff update?
We're talking.
Only one in the room.
We want nothing but good news.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Good.
So a couple things. As Alicia went through some of our legislative items, and I apologize, I wanted to make sure I'm talking about some of the right things here. I want to give credit where credit's due to Representative Ness, where she had helped us with that police social work piece of legislation go through the House, and we're working with our senators. I met with Senator Severson on Saturday and talked to him about it to make sure that that goes through the Senate side. So we're just waiting to hear. It sounds like it's going to be in committee right now. So we're just kind of waiting and seeing. That's an important piece of legislation. If you guys remember, that was $10 million that was allocated before their law enforcement agencies for their police social work programs that still are kind of in the incubator stage. So we obviously have been up and running for 2 years on the police social work with our local law enforcement agencies. And I think that we are going to take the path moving forward of implementing new programs, whatever they may be, and then going to the state and showing them that they are up and running and we're actually providing services to our community. So I'm hopeful that that this gets through the Senate and we receive some funding through the state to offset our costs here locally for that program. So I'm excited to see that move. And looks like I may be 1 for 1 with legislation, so I'm going to stop at 100%. After that. There was a piece of federal legislation that it doesn't look like it's moving forward, but it was known as HR 4639. It was commonly referred to as the Fourth Amendment is Not for Sale Act. So through the Illinois Sheriff's Association and National Sheriff's Association, we had reached out to our federal partners and federal legislators and what that exactly meant for us. So locally, the Sheriff's Office uses TLO, which uses data that is received from utility companies on information on individuals that for address, location, and whatnot. I remember from the days of when I was a detective, that was a resource that we would utilize to identify individuals for residences, for search warrants, to confirm data that we already had. It was helpful when it would come to search warrants and getting search warrants and getting information. And this bill was going to eliminate the use of that. I can tell you we've solved crimes as little as criminal damage to mailboxes all the way up to homicides with this type of information. I understand it's a fine line on an infringement of people's Fourth Amendment. We are very conscious of that. However, to be able to lose that ability would put law enforcement in a position where, it would hamstring us a little bit. So I just want you to all know that I reached out to Senator Durbin. I am going to be meeting with some of the representatives to talk more about what that means. Like I said, I think the bill is dead, but I think it gives us an opportunity to have a relationship with, at least for me, to have a relationship with our federal senator, and build on those relationships. To kind of go off that a little bit more, Alicia had brought up the community project funding with Congressman Shankowski. I am going to DC in the first week of June, and I will be meeting with her and her representatives to talk a little bit more and give an update on what we're doing statistics-wise. Again, to kind of show that this program is already up and running and what that means, just to get more face time with, with our federal partners to, try to help with that program. I know that we submitted it, and it sounds like Friday's a big day for us. Hopefully that we're listed as one of the 15 projects that she wants to move forward with, and I think that would be another offset of $3 million for that. So that's good news. And also the undersheriff and I met with a local, she by trade is nutritional wellness, but working with her through other sheriff's agencies that I've met, on employee wellness programs. So one of the big push right now, not only in recruitment but for retention, is to make sure that our officers are in a good state of mind when they show up to work. We've seen some horrific things. We've had guys go through shootings and whatnot, and that affects them. And it may not affect them the next day at work, but it affects them, as we move down. And that's just, that's probably the most severe. But even the day-to-day business that we run through, it's taking a toll, especially in the polarizing environments that we are living in now. Just the stress of going to any call, it's unfortunate, and that's just not for our road deputies. That's everyone that works at the agency. So we're really trying to work hard and figure out once again what we can do to, keep our employees in a good position. So I'm going to be probably working with the wellness committee to see how that works, because I know that that's where their mission lies, and I want to work with them. So I think that again, we're going to try to put something smaller together, see how that works, and then maybe move forward in something that maybe just not only the sheriff's department but good for our county campus, for all of our employees, to make sure that we're doing right by our employees and what that looks like. So stay tuned on that, but I at least want to let you guys know and give you an update on what that looks like. Did I miss anything?
No, but to
I
add.
did. That's a yes.
But just to add, firing range.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're still on track for a, hopefully second week in May completion, because we already have classes starting there.
Right.
So, but.
Yeah, May 14th, I think. I think May 14th, we will push out a more formal invite, but May 14th looks like we're going to be having a ribbon cutting ceremony out there. I know that our offices, I think we just solidified that with all of our, the Regional Training Center Advisory Board that work for all of the board members in their respective agencies. So it sounds like now that we've got that laid out, that was settled yesterday, so we'll be pushing a message out. So Alicia will work with you on getting all representatives invited, but we're going to try and make that kind of a big deal, because it's a big deal. That's going to be something that is unlike anything else in Northern Illinois, that we're going to be able to train law enforcement across the board and really use the Regional Training Center to pair up with that. I think it's something really, really special that other agencies are trying to do, and they're seeing what we're doing, and we're going to pave the way on that one too. So I think it's super cool. So I guess we'll see how that. We'll look out for the formal invite, because it'll be going out to you all at some point in time.
In Marine Unit, our new facility that we are building, the foundation is laid, so the city of McHenry is very excited with the progress so far. So if you're out there by Miller Park in McHenry, stop in and see, but we're looking at a late June, early July completion.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be more towards end of July with the rain that we've had, or middle of July, I should say. So I was out there last week. We went out to take a look at it. Another good partnership to have. Yes. We're excited about that. Yeah, so that'll be a good one. And talk about partnerships, we're continuing to work with MCC on bringing programs into our correctional facility, and just, for working with workforce to make sure that individuals that are transitioning from our facility back out to the community, that we at least put them in a position to be successful so they don't come back, because that's the goal. But also working with MCC on GEDs and getting education and set up. I just had a phone call with a representative from Lake County that they are working with NICASA to do a similar thing on their program with their jail, but obviously you all know we are housing some of their individuals, so we may be bringing their program, maybe coming in and helping their inmates out. So just so you guys know, that is Lake County is going to be addressing their inmates that we're housing. So I know there's been a lot of concerns on how much resources we're putting into individuals that, for lack of better terms, don't live in our community. We are working with Lake County to make sure that they're still providing services to their community members, so that when they transition out of their custody, that they're set up for success as well. So I mean, there's some good things that are going on with that. I think that's all I got. That's it. Questions?
I do have one question, but it was really on something that we already passed. But just with the naval station, when they bring people out here, do they bring them out, or do you?
Yeah, they're responsible for everything. So
we don't do the transport.
Nope. Nope. Okay. Yeah, and they're that's not gonna be a lot of
I
people.
don't think so either,
But it gives us the opportunity just to build a relationship, and I think it, you know, it opens doors for, we just actually got a really, really nice email from when they came and did their on-site review on how impressed they were with our facility, our staff, and what we do here. So, you know, I think these are good partnerships to have because you never know when you need them and you never know when you need to make a phone call the other way around. So I think this is gonna open the door for just other relationships that we can continue to build. Sir?
How, percentage-wise, what do you think on the HR 4639? Is that truly dead or 99, 98?
I think it's high 90s, but I don't think anything's truly dead until it's passed, right? So I think a lot of it had to do with the FISA. So under current administration, that was kind of, they kind of paired those together, so they are moving forward with that. So it sounds like that's gonna be okay, but I think that's something that we always have to be concerned with. And you know, that I'm not looking at FISA data, I'm just looking at information that's already been collected that, you know, we pay for that data as well. It's not like we're asking for a favor or anyone. And anything that is acted upon, we can't use that data solely. So there is a process. It's usually just another piece of the puzzle. And sometimes we have no clue what we're even looking for. And it helps us, you know, either verify or eliminate some of those things. So I mean, I understand it upsets people, and trust me, I am very concerned about people's Fourth Amendment. I really am. That's one of the things that gets us in a lot of trouble. But that being said, we need to have the ability to at least have a starting point, especially when we're clueless on things. And we, you know, a lot of times crimes are reported much after it occurs, and it kind of puts us behind the 8 ball. This is something that can at least help us out a little bit with it.
Yeah, I'm so old I used crisscross directory. You know how old that is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So this TLO thing is super important that you have this tool at your disposal.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
And the last item we have is report on the 2024 liquor renewal.
Hi. So I just wanted to give all of you an update. Renewals are complete. Tonight is the last night that the 23-24 liquor licenses are valid. We started out the year with 47 liquor licenses. Hancock Road in Wonder Lake was annexed over to the village of Wonder Lake back in February. Because of that, we did lose 3 of our liquor licenses that were on that road. We lost Horizontal Saloon, Wonder Lake BP, and Alibi Pub and Grub. So that brought us to 44 liquor licenses for the year. This was the first year with the new tiers in payment. All the liquor applicants were notified via email on February 1st when the liquor renewal process opened, and then they were also mailed the same letter through the post office. For the first deadline, February 1st to April 1st, we did receive 28 of those renewals. As a reminder, it's not just that we received the renewals, it's that all of the information is verified, all the documentation is correct, and we consider it complete and ready to issue that license. So we had 28 renew before the April 1st deadline. The second deadline of April 1st through April 14th, we had 12 renewals. And the last deadline from April 15th through today, we had 4 renewals.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think it worked?
I think
When I say it, I mean the increasing fee, getting more
it
in.
was a process, like anything, you know, we tried to inform everybody as much as possible. I did catch a little slack from the state's attorney. I was a little lenient on a couple of dates. Like that first deadline fell on a Sunday after Good Friday where we were off. And so I did, you know, anybody who was pending on that Monday, I did contact all of them and said, you know, even though yesterday was the deadline, we did have that holiday in there. Please, if you can get everything to me by 4:30, I'm going to honor that first year. So I did do that, which, you know, I probably shouldn't have, but, you know, it was the first year and everything. And so I just really wanted to, you know, help out them with the new process. We are still in the process of implementing our new software. We're doing some testing stages right now. The plan is to open that up over the summer, you know, starting with the one-day licenses and the raffle applications. Going forward with that, when they apply, they'll still go to our county's website to apply, but it will take them, when they click on renewal, to our new software program. They'll create an account in there, they'll upload all their documents in there, it'll all be housed on there, and they will finally be able to pay online as well.
Great.
So that's hopefully coming.
It's a busy time and it's a lot of notification, but then follow-up. So thank you very much for all your work. I know how challenging this can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we do not have executive sessions, so all I need is a motion to adjourn. Second, by first by Mr. Hendricks, second by Mr. Kunkel. All